So in this lecture we are going to animate the two blue spheres, like in the short animation shown on the right. First we are going to change this window to the node editor. Then we can select both blue spheres on layer 2 and 3. We can also create a keyframe on frame 625 for the scale. Then on frame 700 we can scale our big blue sphere so that it is bigger than the camera field, similar to how I am scaling it, and create a scale keyframe as well. We can play back the animation via the timeline to see how it looks. Let's decrease the preview render sample so that it renders faster. I just quickly moved this keyframe to frame 650 so that the expanding of the blue sphere happens faster. We can select the left handle of this keyframe and pull it down. This way the expansion will not slow down at the end. It seems that our big sphere does not expand big enough, so we can correct this by scaling it bigger and keyframing it again while being on frame 700. When playing the animation, we now see that the blue of the sphere covers the entire camera field of view. We can make the angle here a bit sharper here. With our active frame on 650, we can select our matte node and keyframe the value. Then we set the active frame to 700 and change the multiply value to 0 and keyframe it as well. With our matte node selected, we can change the falloff of the last keyframe to a sharp falloff. And we can make the first keyframe more softer by pulling the right handle to the right. So I decided to move the last keyframe of our matte node to frame 725 so that the fading out continues even after the scaling of the sphere ends. So I think this looks good. Now we can move on to animate the smaller blue sphere, which is on layer 2. With our smaller blue sphere selected on layer 2, we can add a scale keyframe on active frame 650. We can set the active frame to 700 and scale up our sphere with the S hotkey and keyframe that again under scale. With the numpad period key, we can zoom in on the active keyframes in our graph editor. What we can do here, like the big blue sphere, we can make the first keyframe softer and the last one sharp, as I am doing. So now when we play the animation with and then without the logo, we can see the effect as the bigger blue sphere. I think I will just move the first keyframe a few frames to the right to make the growing effect faster. Now I want the sphere to shrink again after frame 700, so I can put my active frame on 725 and scale my sphere down a lot and keyframe it with scale. Of course, we see the new keyframe in our graph editor as well. We can modify the middle keyframe to make it more sharper. "3D animation in general is a real trial and error game. You may tweak more complex animations for hours to get it right. Luckily in this course the animations are relatively simple. With our active frame on 700, we can select our emission shader node and create a keyframe on its current strength value. Then with active frame on 725 we can keyframe a value of 0. Then with only the keyframes of our emission shader visible in our graph editor, we can make the last key sharper and the first one softer. Now let's check the animation with all the 3 first layers active. My computer is having difficulties rendering in real time. I hope you have a better GPU to give you that extra computational punch. Now we can animate the subtle noise of our big blue sphere on layer 3 so that it looks a bit like a moving blob. Doing this is easy. We just have to keyframe one of these location values of this mapping node, as you can see in the preview. It is up to you which location axis you choose depending on which one you like more. So we can put our active frame on 1 and create a keyframe on any of the location axis values. After, with active frame on 1000, we can slide one of the location axis values to let's say 5 and keyframe it. Then in the graph editor, with all the keys selected, we can change the interpolation to linear instead of Bezier. When playing the animation, we do not notice much changed since the value 5 was too little in our mapping node. With active frame on 1000, we can change the value to 20 and keyframe it again, so it will update. If you wish, you can also try to animate another location axis value in the mapping node to give more variation. I am just gonna change this value to around -16 because a bright part was too much in the beginning when the big sphere appears. Now the appearing of the big sphere looks better. So I think we are finished with animating the two blue spheres. I think it looks quite alright in my opinion. Now, after saving this file as a separate blend file according to the lecture number, you can experiment a bit more with the settings, such as with the detail of the noise texture, etc. So I thank you for watching and hope to see you in the next video, where we will animate the nebula effect.